Welcome to the Failing Writers podcast in association with Scrivener, where some people who write sometimes talk to each other and also talk to other people who write sometimes, mostly about writing. You know the sort of thing. It's quite good, really. You know, especially for putting on at night and falling asleep too.
John, are you ready for Tommy's tip-top tip of the day?
Just out of interest, what would you call your very best tip-top tip? Would you call it your top tip-top tip?
Tommy's top tip-top tip?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the top tip-top tip, though. This is just a tip-top tip.
Anyway, yes, I'm definitely ready for it. Who wouldn't be ready for it, Tom? Yes.
Yeah, well, my tip-top tip is this. What you're listening to right now is part 2 of our Small Publishers episode. So if you haven't listened to part 1, you might want to do that first.
Or they might not. They might be the sort of loose cannon that wants to listen to them out of order. Just they refuse to be confined by convention.
They might be, but I don't want to squash anyone's creativity or unique outlook on life. But let's face it, the last thing people need is any of our content being unnecessarily more confusing than it needs to be.
That is true.
Yeah. Oh, and before we crack on and we forget, just a quick reminder about our lovely sponsors, Scrivener.
Yes, purveyors of the finest writing software known to mankind.
I think it covers everyone now, like everyone in the aliens, everyone in the universe, not just mankind. So it's the best.
All right.
It's the best
Is that right?
ever. Yeah.
That's good.
I think they get quite a lot of users in the Alpha 723 system.
All right. Okay.
That bit of the galaxy. So yeah, no, it's
Wow.
everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, I was not aware they had any extraterrestrial
That's how good
customers.
Scrivener is, John.
Wow.
Seriously.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you are just, an Earth-based humanoid, we would suggest checking out literatureandlatte.com, where you can read all about it. And by using the code FAILING, you can get 20% off.
Yeah, and that does include other life forms as well. We are quite inclusive on this.
We're very open.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the show. Because you aren't a complete maverick who just listens to podcasts in any old order, you will know, because you listened to the first one, that we had a lovely chat with Chris, Catherine, Luke and Genevieve about their journeys to becoming published.
Yeah, and it's always interesting, isn't it, how all of them have kind of ended up in a similar sort of place, but they've had such different paths and experiences along the way.
I think that's, one of the main takeaways from all this, really, and everything we've talked about ever since we started the podcast in writing, that there isn't really a set way of doing things. People will have advice on how you write a querying letter, or do you need an agent? Do you need to have a back catalogue? What genre? This, that, the other, followers on social media. And it all kind of averages out, but yeah, you can tread your own path, and it's just the way different people will do it in different ways. There's kind of general truths, but you can do that in your own way. And the good thing about that is, this is what I'm clinging to. The good thing about that is, means it's never too late. You've not missed your shot, have you? Because you can do it, because that's just the way you're doing things. So sitting around for 20 years being hopeless, that's part of the process.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
That's just been part of the journey. Yeah, I like that, Tom. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So, all of that stuff, that was one side of the fence from the author's point of view. But I thought it'd be good to speak to the other side, to speak to the small publisher themselves. And we were lucky enough that Kevin Duffy from BlueMoose Books agreed to have a chat with us. And in this chat, right from the off, we started talking about a subject you might not associate with small independent publishers. And that's the glitzy world of Hollywood.
I don't know if you know, but one of our books, Leonard and Hungry Paul, the BBC have just finished filming a 6-part TV series.
Oh, amazing.
And we found out last week that it's going to be narrated by Julia Roberts.
What?
Yeah.
You're kidding?
Kevin, this causes some problems for us, because we wanted to talk to small publishers, but it sounds like you've gone massive.
On Friday, the BBC media announced it.
Right.
And then on Saturday, we were in Hello magazine.
Bloody hell.
And the Irish Times front page. And then on Sunday, we were on page 3 of the Sunday Times with a picture of the sainted Julia Roberts and a copy of Leonard and Hungry Paul. So it's been absolutely mad in a wonderful way.
You are hobnobbing with all the right people now. Bloody hell.
She's making me a brew at the minute. She's in the kitchen. Don't record that.
What's really interesting to me, that I loved that book, by the way.
Thank you.
But imagining it as a TV series is quite difficult.
It is. We sold the option 5 years ago. And you know that when you hand over to another creative person, it becomes a different entity entirely.
Yeah.
But my fear was the tone of as you say, because there's quite a lot of internal monologue.
Yeah.
It's the tone of the thing that you kind of worry about. But when I flew over to Dublin and was over there for 2 days to see some of the filming, that was brilliant. But then they sent me some rushes the week after, and it is absolutely bob on. The actors are superb, and they've just got their idiosyncrasies right of both Leonard, Hungry Paul, and Shelley. So, yeah, I've got no problems in saying, don't worry.
Oh, that's good.
For me, I think I've not seen it all, but I just think it's going to be a magical piece of TV.
Yeah. They've captured the essence of it somehow.
Yeah, and it's two quiet men navigating the world with their handing bits of kindness to people. And that's wonderful.
That's amazing, isn't it? How rare is that happening? Obviously, this is kind of massive, but in terms of how many books you publish, how often do they get?
I would say, sorry for interrupting, I would say it's very rare.
I thought that might be the answer. Disappointing, yeah. But
having said that, in the last 2 years, we've had 2 books that have been a major TV, BBC series. The Gallows Pole in 2023, Shane Meadows' adaptation of Ben's book. And then Leonard and Hungry Paul, so 2025. So I can't think, and this is me blowing my own trumpet, I can't think of any other indies, never mind small indies, have had that kind of hit rate with TV.
Right, yeah.
Can I tell you how Julia Roberts first got involved?
Yeah, go on.
So in 2020, I'm sat in a boozer in Hebden Bridge having Sunday lunch with my 2 lads, Leo and Cal, and my wife, Heather. And I get a message purporting to be Julia Roberts' PA. So I just deleted it. I thought it was one of my mates taking the mickey. So then she got in touch about half an hour later and saying, no, it's really this person. Google my name and you'll find out who I am. So I Googled the name, found out that she really was Julia Roberts' PA, spat a roast potato across the room because I thought, oh my God, I've lost this opportunity. Got in touch with her, and then we had this kind of email correspondence. And basically, Julia Roberts wanted to get in touch with Ronan because she'd read the book. She just picked it up in a bookshop in America, read it, and fell in love with it, and just wanted to say thank you to Ronan for writing a wonderful book. And I just thought that is the very essence and symmetry of what you're trying to do as a publisher, but also it's a book about kindness. I mean, she's a kind of mega uber star. And I just thought that was, what a wonderful human being she is. And I don't want to go all, literati on everyone, but I just thought what a great gesture.
Yeah, it really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, for 20 odd years, for more than that, but BlueMoose we're celebrating our 20th year this year as an incorporated business. 20 years I've been sticking fingers up to the London publishing corporate nonsense, that the blancmange that they publish all the time, on Penguin, and they would pay an absolute fortune for the kind of press that we've had over the last 4 days. So you can do it, and you do it by finding great writers.
Yeah. That would appear to be your USP.
Yeah. I'm not going to have a pop at agents, but I suppose I am in a way. Agents have got a different kind of economic imperative, not all of them, most of them are trying to find the big bestseller, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're speaking to editors and marketing folk from the big 5. And the big 5 are not doing the R&D anymore. They just want to replicate the successes they've already had or other publishers have had, because their main priority is to satisfy the rapacious corporates, shareholders. And so because, we do use agents, we do, work with agents, but because I think we're open all the year for submissions, we are reading more and more manuscripts than most of the publishers. And some of it is not brilliant, but you get gems like The Gallows Pole coming through, or, Leonard and Hungry Paul, or Beast by Lulu Allison, or, The Orange Notebook by Susanna Crossman. And these books would never, ever be picked up by the bigger publishers because they don't know how to sell them.
Did you begin BlueMoose with that as a sort of kind of very conscious philosophy?
Yeah, I've been working I sound like Danny LaRue now for your listeners. They might not even know who Danny LaRue is, but he used to always go on about I've been on the streets for 45 years. But I've been working in publishing for nearly 40 years. And I started off at Headline, which is now owned by Hachette, which is a French company and second biggest publisher in the world behind Penguin. And I worked as a sales rep and in sales and marketing. I remember going to one of my biggest customers at the time was a library supplier that was based in Lytham St Anne's, Holt Jackson. And I remember saying to the buyer there, who was in his 60s, then I said, what are the new exciting stuff coming out from, the bigger publishers? When I was working for a corporate at the time, and he just said, there's nothing new. It's all very much the samey. And from then on, I just thought, we can do something here. And also, working class writers weren't getting a fair crack. with their stories, because it was very much, if you were a working class writer kind of published by one of the big five, it was still a kind of whippet cloth cap trope. And, people want to read stories about where they come from and the problems and issues they have, because everyone loves a good story and they just weren't being published. So that's why we started BlueMoose. And there's another reason, if I've got time to tell you. I'd won a national writing competition, and part of the prize was to go down to London and meet the editorial director of Macmillan and a senior agent from this literary agency. And the prize was a kind of meal at the Ivy, which is a very swanky celebrity bolt hole in London where they spend £400 on some Tibetan lettuce or something. And I made the mistake I pronounced the agent's name wrong. She had a double barrel name. And she corrected me, and I thought, oh my God, I felt about 5, and I'm 36. And I had really long hair, I had a red jacket on, ruby wax was at the next table being very loud. And I just thought, this isn't going very well. And I did a stupid thing. I did what most middle-aged northern working class men do. I thought, I'll just get pissed, which I kind of continued to do. And then I went to the loo, and then I got a hand on my shoulder and I turned round because I was trying to steal a face cloth because it had the Ivy name on it, and I thought I can take that back home. And then people say, I've actually been to the Ivy. And he said, we don't do that, do we, sir? And kind of marched me out. Anyway, the meeting didn't go very well after that. And then a year later, I read in the Bookseller, which is like the Bible for kind of booksellers and writers. But all the big money was going to Irish writers, young Irish writers. So I changed my name to Colm O'Driscoll and sent off the first 3 chapters to Darley Anderson, who's Lee Childs and Martina Cole's agent. And I got a letter from the man himself saying that I tried to contact you, but you're not in the Hebden Bridge phone book. Well, of course not, because I didn't exist. But then he wrote me a wonderful letter, a wonderful perfume letter, saying lots of nice things. I'm the new Tom Sharp, blah, blah, blah. Give me a bell. So I gave him a bell, but I had to be Irish. So and I come from an Irish kind of background, heritage.
Right.
So I can do an accent. But I had to be Irish for a year. And I remember telling the 2 lads, if a posh guy from London phones up, that I'm not Kevin, your dad, I'm Colm O'Driscoll. So I'm lying to my children to get a publishing deal. Anyway, I got a contract and I was whisked down to London. My first meeting with him, and I just had to say, look, my name's not Colm O'Driscoll, it's Kevin Duffy. And he started laughing, going, what a great backstory. Anyway, they touted my book around, and it's called The Antleton Stars. And it's a kind of Tom Sharpy, farcy kind of book about hippies moving into the upper Calder Valley. Well, all the big publishers said lovely things, but they didn't know how they could sell a kind of humorous book. And so that was another reason why I thought, and there's a bit of vanity in there as well, but I didn't want BlueMoose to be just purely a vehicle for a kind of my book.
Yeah.
So we published another book at the same time called The Bridge Between, and that was 2006. And we've made kind of enough money from those to continue. But yeah, the idea was to find new writers and, not just northern writers, but kind of writers from all over. And now, our writers are from all over the world now.
Yeah.
And so that's why we started. So there was a bit of vanity in there because I wanted my book out there. All writers have got a bit of vanity. And I don't edit. And I think one of the reasons why we, as a small, we've just, again, blown my own trumpet. Our books have been longlisted or shortlisted or won 30 major literary prizes in the last 7 years.
That's ridiculous.
Which is just pretty remarkable, isn't it? And that's down the testimony to the great writers that we find, but also we've got 3 of the, I think, finest editors, Leonora Rustamova and Lynn Webb, and my wife Heather, she edits as well, Heather Duffy. And we spend an inordinate amount of time editing our books. Again, which I don't think the bigger publishers do anymore.
Right.
And I think if you're competing with, the big 5 and another great independent, it's all about quality. So we will spend at least 18 months editing a book.
Wow.
And proofing a book. And then, our jackets have to stand out. So we've got a great designer in Ireland called Fikra McCarthy, who designs most of our covers. And we spend a lot of money on, the paper, the quality and stuff, because we have to stand out.
Yeah.
Kevin, what happens to your authors when they've had success with you? Do they end up getting poached by bigger publishing houses, or
they're in my cellar, locked up?
Just keep them under lock and key.
Yeah, we've got several typewriters down. You might be able to hear it.
Because what you're saying about the business model of the bigger publishers, that they don't want to take a risk, they like a sure thing. Then obviously you've done the groundwork. You've got there's an award there. There's a potential there. I can imagine them sweeping in with a handsome contract.
Yeah, I'm not so naive to know that kind of it's a commercial activity, and all writers want is enough time to write.
Yeah.
So if someone comes along and offers them, a substantial amount of money that we couldn't offer them, then they're going to go, aren't they? And that's, we will say bye-bye and thanks very much. And that happened with Ben Myers, who we'd published his third book, The Gallows Pole, and it won the world's biggest literary prize for historical fiction, £25,000 Walter Scott Prize. And we knew at some point, he was going to go. But he kept us informed all the time, saying that, there's now an auction between two publishers. And then Bloomsbury finally came along with, Harry Potter Gold, which we couldn't match. But he did a wonderful thing. He said, I will publish my next book with you, but I want my backlist in print with Bloomsbury. So they licensed his backlist offers and we get royalties from his backlist.
Oh, wow.
Which is Pig Iron and Bee Stings and The Gallows Pole. And so these are ways that you can become sustainable. Yeah, but the bigger publishers, for them, you wouldn't believe how much money they are making. So it's not in their interest to go out and do all the R&D when they can let smaller publishers do all the R&D, build up a readership, people start winning prizes, and then just helicopter cash in or helicopter a huge check in. So why would they change? It's their model isn't broken, and they're doing very well. But the discounts that they're offering to the height we just can't compete with. But we've had several, an imprint of the biggest publisher in the world wanted to buy the world right of Leonard Hungry Paul. And perhaps that's a story for another time, but it's very interesting.
I read that on an average day, you receive between about 10 and 20 unsolicited pitches. Presumably, there must be some of those you read the first page and you just go, no, or are you very meticulous?
I'm meticulous in knowing what I think our readers would want. Someone said to me, what is a BlueMoose book? And I said, I haven't got a clue. And then that's the beauty of it, isn't it? But
yeah.
I think from experience, within, 4 or 5 pages, one, whether someone can write, is there a kind of a story here, or am I interested in the characters and where they're going? That becomes obvious for me anyway, very early on. And then, out of those 10 or 20, you might find 2 or 3 that you'll read, the 20 pages or whatever, and then you're getting excited by the writing, and I ask them for a complete manuscript. If I'm reading, a full story, I want to read it like a reader, so I want it in my hands. And this is probably the nerdy thing, I want it paper and I want to be turning pages. But yeah, you get to know. For me, if you can indulge me a minute, when in 2018 it was a March Monday morning, I get up very early to walk the dog, and I just received an email from a guy who I'd never known called Ronan Hession. And in the banner headline, it just said Leonard and Hungry Paul. So I'm intrigued, thinking, what's this about? And then the first line, if you indulge me, I'll just read you the first line. Leonard was raised by his mother alone with cheerfully concealed difficulty, his father having died tragically during childbirth. Then that is just a stellar first sentence. Not that, you can want all writers to put everything in the first line, but immediately that first sentence, it kind of hooks you straight in thinking, oh my God, why has he died? Who is he? Who are these people? So automatically you've got plates in the air thinking, where's this going?
And after all of the reading that presumably you have to do during a day, what does the rest of your day, like a typical day, look like for you?
If I just do this morning, because of all the great media over the weekend, I was talking to the producer who lives in Dublin, Kristen, from Subotica. So we're talking about Julia Roberts doing the narration and what date it's going to happen in America. When that goes down, I'll go for a coffee, come back. And then I'm talking to our editors, I'm talking to our designers. And this morning, I've just done a press release for a co-publication we're doing with Little Toller called The Book of Bogs. We've got 45 nature writers. It's an anthology. It's about the depletion of peatlands around the world, specifically in Walsham Moor on the tops near Hebden Bridge, where I live. We've got some great writers. We've got Robert McFarlane, we've got Amy Liptrop, Horatio Clare. We've also got a contribution by the legendary musician Patti Smith.
Oh, wow.
So just putting a press release together to send out later on this afternoon. So every hour is different. And as I say, I don't edit. I'm more kind of sales and marketing. So it's doing those things. It's speaking to our distributors. It's speaking to our sales force. And I was speaking to the manager of Waterstones as well. But we were talking about football. So it's got nothing to do with publishing. But I've known him 30 odd years. But I know by flagging his team off, I'll know that he'll sell more of my books.
Kevin, just to go quickly back. So when you've found a manuscript that you love or you see potential in the next step, does the author themselves as a person, as a personality, as their whatever it is, demeanour, does that factor into the equation at all? Or does it stand purely on the words on the page?
Words on the page. We haven't got a TikTok dancing algorithm at BlueMoose Towers.
Yeah.
I don't give her Scoobies. For me, I know this might sound a bit glib, but publishing is really easy. You find a cracking book written beautifully, and it's our job then to kind of put a great cover on it, edit the jeebus out of it, make it, a wonderful, wonderful book, and then find readers for it. I won't deny social media does play an effect, and if someone's on, so fine. But we've got writers who don't go on social media. But no, I mean, if they're complete weapons, then no, we won't publish it.
Yeah, there's got to be a line somewhere.
I mean, I always try and meet them or speak to them.
Yeah.
Top tip there. Have you got any other top tips for writers who are maybe approaching a small publisher? Like things you see people doing, you think, oh God, please don't do that.
Yeah, get the publisher correct. I'm not called Keith. Yeah. That's another one. They think I'm in boy zone. Yeah, I don't want to know whether your mum or your dad like your writing either. Keep the initial letter really short. If anything I could pass on, be confident about your writing. So, the best ones for me are, the letters are just, this is me, I've written this story or this book. Just be positive about your own writing. And don't really say, it's like this or like that, because if it's like this or like that, we probably won't publish it. We want it to be unique.
Right, interesting.
Don't be arrogant, but just say, I'd love to work with you or blah, blah, blah. But don't say this is the new, I don't know, Charles Bukowski or whatever, because that's been done. We don't want the new anything. We want you as the writer.
And that probably is different to a lot of publishers, but actually, for an indie publisher, you are looking for something a little bit different, aren't you?
We've got to be different. I mean, we get lots of emails from writers and from independent bookshop who are the spine of our the reason why I think we're reasonably successful, because they hand sell our books for us. And that is gold dust. It's absolute gold dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got lots of emails from readers who say that they're going into the high street and they're not seeing anything different. And then I found an independent bookshop or someone talked about your book and led me to independent publishers like yourselves who are publishing books that the bigger publishers just don't want to touch. It's kind of like cognitive dissonance because the big five are so big. Penguin publish a third of the world's books, which is just an absolute nonsense. But the big five are probably publish about 75-80% of all the books in the UK. But that means that creates a space for someone who wants to publish literary fiction. There's a huge gap, and lots of indies like Gallybeggar, like BlueMoose, like Saraband are providing readers with quality literary fiction.
Well, you've had a very good year. I noticed you won the Small Press Award for the North of England.
Yeah.
In the British Book Awards.
That's the second one. We won in 2023 as well. And this year we got The Accidental Immigrant, which is very apposite at the minute, isn't it? By Joe McMillan was shortlisted for the Orwell Prize for Political Fiction.
Amazing. Well, last question from me. Is there like a really shit bit of your job? Is there a bit that you don't enjoy?
Yeah, but I can't say that on. But it's to do with discounts.
Right.
When I'm funding Jeff Bezos's holidays, and sending rockets up to the sky, that pees me off.
Yeah, I can imagine. Brilliant. Well, thank you for lending us a bit of your time, Kevin. Really appreciate it. It's lovely talking to you.
Pleasure.
I love how passionate Kevin is about it. I mean, I guess you've got to be in that space, haven't you? Because you're always swimming against the flow of mass-produced books.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You every day is a bit of a battle.
Yeah, and I think you really get an idea of how much a good small publisher brings to the party.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting a book printed. It's about so much more, isn't it? It's about helping spot opportunities and getting exposure in the right places, and helping a book that otherwise might never see the light of day, might never reach their, maximum potential.
Yeah, totally that. It is that, isn't it? Like you say, it's not just printing the book. And it must be so rewarding as a job when everything falls into place. When you think, I've identified that and I got it in the right place. And a lot of hard work and a bit of luck for that to happen, I guess. But when Netflix and Hollywood come knocking and proper prestigious awards land, that must just be like,
Yeah, definitely. Well, he obviously just takes it in his stride now, Kevin. It's just normal.
Yeah, just in a day's work, isn't it?
But yeah, he's got a very good eye for a beautifully written book. BlueMoose. It's one of those indies, and there are definitely a few around. If you pick up pretty much any book that's published by them, you basically know it's going to be good. It's one of them.
Yeah, it's like a stamp of approval. It's like a gold standard. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, all publishers don't have quite as good a reputation as BlueMoose. There are some scoundrels out there.
Tommy, they don't. As we found out from our lovely new friend, Janeen.
Thank you so much for joining us. You intrigued us with your tale of woe from your experience with small publishers. So let's just cut straight to the chase.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, what didn't happen? The drama. Oh, the drama. No, it was back in 2022. I had finished my first book and looking for different publishers, and you're sending out to anyone who even looks near the genre that you're working with. Came across this thing, sent it off to them, didn't think anything more of it. And then, goodness, it was like 3 months later, I got back a request for, oh, I really enjoyed your 10,000 words or 3 chapters or whatever it was. Could you send me more? And I was like, yeah, this is great.
Had you had any interest, lots of interest, or was that the only one, or how did it fit in?
I'd had a couple ask for more. I'd had the, oh, you're so lovely, but no rejections. And then the heartbreaking silence a few times.
But these guys seemed interested.
These guys were enthusiastic.
Now, you see, that would have been a red flag for me. If I'd have sent some of my writing and someone was actively enthusiastic about it, that would have sent alarm bells ringing.
Looking back, I should have been like, oh no, you think it's good?
My writing? Hold on
Are you
a minute.
crazy?
So what was your response, Jan?
I was stupid because I let myself be charmed by it a little bit.
Easily done.
And I can't even say, oh, I was young and naive because it was 3 years ago. But yeah, I chatted to them for a while and thought, no, I'm an astute woman of the world. I will do my due diligence. Googled the guy's name. Seemed to be all legit. All the Google reviews, top fella, does a good job, published it. And the time he told me when, I was like, right, this is looking positive. They have a website. Right. They hosted events.
So they looked legit, basically.
Yeah. They ticked all the boxes. I was thoroughly convinced.
So what was on offer? What was their pitch?
Well, they sort of said, look, we'll do a 50-50 thing because you're new and we don't know your name. We'll do this 50-50 thing, but we'll be sort of leaning in your favour. We'll advocate for you. We'll assign you an agent. We'll get you editors that are personal to you. But if you pay us some of the fees, you can veto any of the things. You can choose your own cover art. You get final say. We don't hold any of the rights to your books, which is one of those things that I was like, people warned me about that people are going to steal the rights to my books,
So they made it sound like they were doing you a favour.
Yeah, they really sounded, I'm on your side. Everybody else is evil, but me, I'm the good guy.
You're just a no-name first-time author, so
let us
we're
going to take that risk.
And what were the fees specifically for?
Well, they did send me very official-looking paperwork with all their logos and all this stuff on it, and it was, paying for the personal editing services, paying for marketing and advertising, to hire artists for cover design. There's a whole host of... Nothing looked out of place. It looked like something I would have assumed with no knowledge going in that's how you do the thing.
I mean, that all sounds expensive. Do you mind me asking what they were charging?
The way they did it was strange. Cause, they gave the full breakdown, which was about 2,500 altogether in pounds sterling. And they were like, we'll be generous. You pay 1,200, and then we'll pay a little bit more. But you still hold the rights and the veto. And I was like, well, that's more money than I've seen in a while. Yeah. So I'm going to go and think about this for a while.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll go to my parents. My parents are very level-headed kind of people. We're very close. I've written them stories and poetry since I was no age. And I was like, they'll talk sense into me. And my dad was immediately like, I will get it from my pension fund. I will fund your dreams, which looking back, I'm like, you sweetie, but no.
That's not what you're supposed to be doing.
He went in with the blinkers on as well and was like, you're going to be a star. Oh. We talked about it as a family for a while, and my mum, she's the computer literate one of the two, so she was doing all the research, and she was like, no, they do seem to be legitimate. Their books are on Waterstones, and they're reviewed, and, they seem to be very good quality and stuff. There's no problems here that I can see. We'll lend you the money, and then whenever the book starts selling, you can pay us back. And I was like, yeah, that's a fair thing. That's a fair way to start it off. So I sort of talked to the guy on the phone from the publishing place, which gives me the heebie-jeebies now whenever I think about it. I actually spoke with the guy, because not many of the other people in my story have actually spoken with the guy. But it took about a month, got the funds together, and was like, right, I'm ready. Signed the contract, great. And I had calls with him constantly. They were so hands-on. I thought, this is it. I've made it. I've done the author dream kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So they'd clearly done their research. They'd read the book properly, and
Yeah, like, at the very least, I can give it to him that he actually read my book. You know, I can give him that. So it was positive, you know.
I want to. Where's the bad bit? Because this sounds amazing.
Yeah, this was
Everything's
the
going swimmingly.
dream.
This is good. You've got someone who's on your side, taking a real interest, giving you support.
It becomes a slippery slope.
What was the first? What's the first alarm bell going off?
They said, right, 4 months in, going well, we'll have your first edits by 6 months. 6 months came, and there was a slight delay, and they were kind of testy. The tone kind of changed a little, and I was like, it's okay. They're bigwigs in London. They got a lot going on. That's fine. By 7 months, I had the first round of edits, and I was like, right, these are grand. And then I opened the document, and it was like a teacher had done it with like a red pen. There was just here and here and here. And I was like, this feels kind of like you've done AI or some weird thing with it. It was really clumsy. At that point, I was like, that's kind of funny. And they hadn't really changed all that much. I think, God, was it about 90,000 words? And I've since rewritten and published it myself years later and took like 30,000 words off it. So like it could have been trimmed a good bit. So I was like, And they did the whole praise thing. They're like, oh, you know, you're just such a natural that we didn't want to take stuff off. And I was like, well, I know that's bullshit. Because I've read it myself.
Yeah.
And like, whenever I had first written the book, I had been 15. And by the time I was publishing it, I was sort of around 30.
Yeah.
So I knew there was stuff in there that was just not quite up to snuff. Just sort of went with it. And he's like, oh, no, don't worry. We do second and third rounds of edits. Grant, you're just being kind to me at the start. You're easing me in. And they were like, we're going to aim for a 9-month to 12-month publishing window. I was like, that seems a bit fast for not doing really anything. But you're the boss. That's fine. And then radio silence immediately after that. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm just being impatient. I'll just go on. And I started working, you know, on my next novel. So I was like, obviously I'm the best writer in the world and they can't wait to have me. So I better work on something else because they'll need to get it out really quick.
That follow-up.
Yeah, they're going to need something really good to keep them hooked. I had it all marked in my calendar when the deadline was, and the next thing you know, it was a year, and I hadn't heard from them in months.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, they've forgotten to contact me. That's incredibly silly of them. I'll just reach out and just give them a wee nudge.
And is there a little part of you that's reluctant to do that because you maybe somewhere deep inside your mind you're thinking this isn't quite right?
No, see, he was very good at manipulating, which I didn't realise at the time that he was actually doing.
Right.
Where they would have like a template that got sent out, like an automatic sort of receipt email. And it would be things like, you know, your work is now with the such and such team. If you pester us for replies, it's going to take longer. So then I'm like, oh, it's just me being impatient. I just have to hold my horses. It'll be grand. And then whenever I finally got through to a person, I was like, hey, you know, just looking for updates. And the person was like, well, it's actually off with this person in a different department, so I don't have access to the file anymore. And I was like, right, that's grand. Who are you? I've never seen your name on any of these emails before. And they're like, oh, I'm a new editor. And I'm like, right, okay, that's fine. And then the next email was a different name again. And I'm like, do you just hire new people every day? What's this? And at that stage, I was like, something's kind of funny. And this was maybe March-ish of 2023. So I was like, right, I'll talk to Mr. Google. Underneath the website was like another website I'd never seen before called Writers Beware.
Oh, no.
I was like, that feels like that's a red flag. And then it turns out that the thing that had happened to me had happened to over 100 other people.
Wow.
At this point now, it's over 200 have come forward into our little group that we have.
Blimey.
And it was just a set sort of thing, like, talks to you for a little while over email, you get the money, eventually pull away from them, and then just don't do anything. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's not me. These people have clearly been silly, and I'm perfectly fine. I'll email him the same way these people have, and I'll find out the real truth. And the guy sent me this weird legalese kind of thing. If you were 16, it would have scared the life out of you. But as an adult, you look at it and you're like, well, you spelt the word legal wrong, so maybe not. You know, and it was a thing called force majeure, which apparently is an act of God. And he's like, this is the reason we can't publish your book. It's going to be delayed because of an act of God. And I'm like, what does that mean in actual terms? And he was like, well, we can blame the COVID. We couldn't go into the office. And I'm like, right, okay. I can see how COVID would be a thing. And he was like, there's also a big storm here. And I'm like, all right, okay. Well, your people couldn't get to the office because rain. So then I went back and the people on the Writers Beware were like, did he hit you with the force majeure yet? And I'm like, oh no, please. So then the person who runs that website, she was like, you know, we have a Facebook group with all the people that have been affected. Do you fancy joining in with it? We're going to try and, you know, help each other out. And I was like, grand, yes. That's a good idea. Put me in that. I'll be involved. And at this time, I was still not really, like, convinced that I'd been scammed. I think there was part of me knew it was right. And I went in and it was a roller coaster. They were angry. And they were like, we've been scammed.
And was it roughly the same amount of money that people have been taken for?
It seemed to be random, honestly. There's some of them had been around the same 1,000, 1,200 as me. There's another guy was 5,000. Like, he got it hard.
Wow.
They were like, right, you know this person you've been talking to? And I was like, yes. And they're like, have you actually spoken to him? And I was like, yeah, I was on the phone a lot. And they were like, and was his accent English? And I'm like, yeah, it was. And they were like, did he look like this? And send me a picture. And I was like, yeah, that was the guy. You know, because I'd had, like, Zoom calls where I could see his face and stuff too. And they're like, I'm just going to warn you. I'm going to send you a news article from BBC. Don't freak out. And all right, okay. Whenever you say don't freak out, that's the prerequisite to me freaking the fuck out. So it turns out he was a convicted sex offender.
Oh my God. I was not expecting you to say that.
Cheeky little twist in the tail there.
And I was like, right. And he had illegally changed his name to try and cover this up so that we couldn't do due diligence. He was also a police officer while this happened.
What?
Could anyone prove that they'd actually done anything illegal at that stage? I know that sounds stupid, but do you know what I mean?
No, because he did have proof that he had, quote unquote, published books in the past. Since 2013, they had published 11 books.
Right, so just very slow at publishing books.
Other than him being a crap publisher, there was nothing to say he's a scam publisher at that point.
So was there any chance of anyone getting any money back on this at all? Or...
Well, see, that's the fun stuff. We started with our Facebook group. We went to like small claims court. We worked with Action Fraud. And then one of the members decided we should talk to Watchdog.
Right.
And they were amazing. They were actually more helpful than the police. And at this point, obviously BBC Watchdog had spoken with him. So he started emailing all of the authors, not knowing which of us were in the Facebook group and involved in this behind the scenes, being like, a group of evil authors is trying to disparage our company and make us look bad. And that's why we haven't published your book. And I'm like, oh, really? That's why. I was wondering. So we kind of had it all aired out on BBC. We managed to get their website taken down, their email domain closed. And then because BBC Watchdog were like, yeah, they're dodgy, then all the banks were like, oh, we'll just reverse the transactions.
Oh, wow.
That's no bother. It did work out very well. I know there are still a few people that did get their books published in a really terrible state.
That's probably harder, isn't it? Because he has actually fulfilled part of his contract to
royalties and stuff. Yeah.
So what was that book and what state is it in now? What's happened with it?
Oh, I completely rewrote it.
Because if you give us £1,500, Jen. No, seriously, what is your book and where can people buy it?
All my books are on Amazon.
All my books, John. Listen to us, showing off now. How many books?
6 out at the minute, and then I've got 3
Brilliant.
that are almost out.
Have you self-published those?
Yeah.
You lost your nerve after that.
I'd sent ones before, but then whenever they complimented me, I was like, but
yeah, hold on.
You're out then.
the trust had gone.
What genre are we talking? What's your thing?
Mostly, I write like urban fantasy, so I would do quite a lot of traveling. So I write like adding magic into places that I've been.
Right.
So there's one that's like based in Chester in England. I've got a couple set in like Dublin. I've got one I'm working on at the minute. We were just on a trip to Japan, so I'm basing it in some of the places we were there as well.
Excellent.
But it was .exe was the book that he tried to stop. But we're doing well, because whenever I rewrote it, he's the bad guy now. And he can't say shit about it.
The ultimate writer's revenge. Ah, poor Janeen.
I know, what an ordeal.
Yeah.
At least it sort of had a happy-ish ending.
Yeah, it did.
I think.
Well, she got to talk to us, didn't she? So,
Well, that's true.
I mean, she's probably thinking that was worth it, if I'm honest.
Well, yeah,
Even if
yeah.
I didn't get the money back, that was worth it.
Again, it's about the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, we should probably, at this point, make a discrepancy between publishers who are just a bit inept on the one hand and publishers that are completely unscrupulous, deliberately taking money from writers with absolutely no intention of giving them much in return on the other.
Yeah, and if you actually start looking around online, there appears to be a scourge of disreputable publishing companies preying on unsuspecting writers.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is we're all hungry for a bit of recognition, aren't we? You get your ego stroked,
exactly.
You see that little glimmer of possible fame and publishedness, and it's easy to fall for it, isn't it?
Yeah. Which is why scammers are so prevalent in this industry.
Yeah.
So please be careful. A good rule of thumb is stick to approaching publishing companies you've heard of, obviously, and that ideally you've read books from.
Like you were saying about BlueMoose before, where you see that and you know that's a decent book.
That's it. But you can also see the quality of their work as well. You literally pick it up and leaf through it and check that it's not full of spelling mistakes and stuff.
Yeah, completely. The other thing as well is to beware of cold callers. So by that we mean companies that email or even get hold of your phone. But you get a lot of that on social media as well, don't you? With you get a message on Twitter or whatever saying, "Oh, hey person, I loved your book. I could help you do this with it or that with it," and obviously they pick on these self-published people and try and sell them the dream, and they kind of make it sound like they've read it and digested a bit. Like, well, Janeen, she said the guy read the book, and it does happen very occasionally that people will get picked up, obviously, from self-publishing stuff, but obviously there's more formal and upfront ways to do it than kind of trying to fish you in through some cold calling and empty promises. So if you get something like that cold calling, that should be probably a red flag.
Yeah, because apparently if you are self-published, and you kind of said this already, Tom, but at some point it's almost inevitable, apparently, that one of these dodgy companies will get in touch and try and persuade you that they can. And what they normally say is they can help you republish or rebrand your book so that it sells better.
Right.
Or so that a traditional publisher will take it more seriously. That's often the line they give you.
Oh, well, that's a bit of a crap one, isn't it, that, where they're saying, they're not like saying we can help you make we can help you make it. We're not going to we're not promising you, but we can that's just rubbish, isn't it? Bit more of a tricky one as well, linked to that, is if you're approached by one of the big traditional publishing companies and you think, oh yeah, cool, brilliant, wow, like, be suspicious.
Right.
I know that sounds terrible because obviously some people, this is what the scammers rely on, isn't it? There's an element of believability, and that does happen very, very rarely. But there are more and more scammers that are basically pretending to be from a well-known, reputable publishing company with an email address that can look legit. It can all look above board. I guess on that one, all you can do is try and reply to them separately. So find an email separately to reply to them rather than just replying to the one they've sent, or get the phone number from the actual website or something like that. And
from the yellow pages.
Yeah, that's right. But just not relying on what's in that email, because there are so many ways now for scammers to make emails look like they've come from different places that aren't as obvious as they used to be.
Yeah. And we've said this before, but another good rule of thumb is that you just shouldn't be paying for anything.
Yeah.
Like, a good publishing company won't ask you for money, whether it's for printing or for a guarantee to end up in a large chain of well-known bookstores, or for marketing, or the other one is taking your book to book fairs. That's quite a common one.
All right, okay.
What else do they ask for money for, Tommy?
Editing and stuff. Then there's things like that where sometimes they'll ask for money for pay-to-play book reviews, so you're paying for the kind of fake, if you like, book reviews, so you can get you up the Amazon charts that way or whatever, and other kinds of endorsement. And then there's all the really, like, spurious bollocks they come up with. Like, you might get asked money for book licensing. So they make it sound like it's a thing, book returns insurance, or oh yeah, lovely, thanks very much.
Yeah, good.
Or almost trying to scare you into stuff. So it could cost you, if your book returns, it's going to cost you loads. So you have to get this insurance out, or insurance for legal representation if someone has a problem with your book, or blah blah blah. And none of that a legit publisher would ask you for.
Yeah.
They would, if any of those things exist, it's in their business model and they're covered for it and it's taken care of. So there's no extra separates to be asking for.
I've heard as well that some companies are quite sneaky because they won't ask for any money up front, because that obviously looks a little bit dodgy.
Yeah.
So what they'll do is they'll tease you along for ages instead. They'll tell you the editing's going well and everything, a bit like Janeen, I guess. Everything's fine. And then once you've invested a load of time into getting published further down the line, when you're really, really itching for it to happen, that's when they'll ask for money for stuff.
Yeah, so it's like a sunk cost fallacy. And if you don't do it now, then all that's been wasted and it's all blah, blah. I tell you, actually, another one, and this is, I think this might even be worse, really, because it's just like so blatant. A company that did put a book out without charging, so there's no fees up front, but it was full of mistakes, badly put together. They'd not done any proper publisher work on it.
Yeah.
And then didn't pass on anything, like the cut that was agreed for each sale to the author. So basically just kind of stole royalties away from them, basically. By just taking charge of selling the book.
Yeah.
Again, I think that's another one where you need to, what other books has this publisher published?
Yeah.
And have a look at the quality and where they are at, and even try and speak to the author. Chris said that in the last episode, didn't he?
Yeah, get in touch with one of the authors. Yeah, on their list.
So find out if you see an author on their imprint that you can get hold of. Just drop them a little email. A lot of people will be happy to help and say, these guys were good or whatever.
There's a website, actually, jillsbookcafe.blog. Have you seen this?
No.
Scanning through it, it looks like a pretty thorough list of good, reputable indie publishers.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's probably quite a good starting place. Although, to be honest, even then, I'm sure Jill's done her due diligence, but you should probably still do your homework. You should probably still double-check.
Sure, she's not, but if Jill is a scammer and you've just redirected, it's just like a lovely list of. She charges the scammers to put. That'd be quite a good business model, wouldn't it? Charges scammers to put it on.
Put loads of good ones on, and then just a few of your own.
I'm sure Jill's Book Cafe is. Probably legit, but again, finding stuff like that online where someone else has done the process, and
But I'll leave a link for that in the show notes, because that is a brilliant resource.
And I guess finally, just to say, if you're worried even in the slightest bit, don't let the razzmatazz and your writer's ego get in the way of following your gut instincts. If you're getting bad vibes, it sounds too good to be true, listen to that little voice inside. Yeah,
just go with someone else. It's not worth it. I've read so many different accounts of people being shafted now, as research for this. But I think actually the experience can be genuinely traumatic.
Yeah.
Especially if, unlike Janeen, you end up not getting your money back. I think that's just horrendous.
And there's all kinds of ways it can go wrong, isn't it? Even not just the money side of things. So if you get a book that comes out and it's just awful.
And it can cost a lot of money. Like you see some people have been conned out of 26 grand and stuff like that, like thousands, which is just, I don't know, I find that amazing.
Yeah.
And presumably that's all like just piecemeal, just bits of money here and there. But yeah.
Yeah, well, that's often how all scams, isn't it? Where they're they find someone who's putting money in, and then see here, whether it's a book writing scam or a romance scam or anything, it's just that, we need another 1,000 for this. Oh, we just need another 500 for this. Or there's always an excuse. Or like Janeen was saying, wasn't it? There was always something, because of the storm, or because of this, because of that. And
we need more money because of the storm.
It just keeps ticking it along and pushing it down the line. Yeah.
We should say as well that the scammers, actually, they're not just publishing companies either. They can present themselves as, as book marketing companies, as fake literary agencies, TV production companies, or film companies, or even like ghostwriting services. They come in many guises.
Well, you're right, but tell you what, that's put me right off, hasn't it? It's a minefield out there. I quit. That's it. Done.
Is that it? It's quite a good excuse, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just too dangerous. It's too dangerous.
Writing today. But hang on, Tommy. Hang on. I want you to think back to those lovely stories in the first episode.
Yeah.
I think as long as you're careful, as long as you don't get lured in by empty promises, and just don't hand over any cash up front, I reckon you'll be all right.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
Well, that's that then.
It is, isn't it? Another informative and mildly entertaining episode under our belt.
Yeah. Well, actually, do you know what, Tommy? It looks like we might have a bit of spare time.
Oh, you know what we should do then?
I do.
What time is it?
It's time for Hype Writer. The right type of acclaim we all need. Occasionally, cause you're a mighty fighter. Type who lights up the writing world with your beautiful words.
So, completely at random, this week's Hype Writer is a young lady called Janeen that we were just talking to.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this book that we're looking at for Hype Writer is the actual book that was scammed. So we just thought, anything we can do to help?
Yeah, totally, especially as we're charging $2,000 for it. So, yeah.
So, should we have a little listen first, Tommy? .exe by Janeen Lease Taylor. Prologue.
Gateway, Crossroads BIOS, version 122.3.1, BIOS date 12/04/2079, 04/43/29, version 2.1.1, copyright 2080 Crossroads IE Inc., Runner Droid 01113 revision beta, BIOS extension v2.1.1 applied, memory test 125371 kilobytes, okay, initializing, done.
The text scrolled up before Runner Droid 01113's eyes, as red as a Christmas ribbon, and illuminated from within by his own internal systems. Line after line appeared across its HUD in a pattern of numbers and letters, the digits moving at a slow, methodical pace as its systems booted for the first time that day. It blinked as its processes came to life, systems whirring softly as it began all of its usual boot-up protocols. Fingers twitched at its side as energy flooded from one part of its artificial body to the other, and before it, the door to its containment block began to slowly rise. Each section of the corrugated steel folded in on itself like an intricate origami design, creating dull music from the resounding clanks. Warm electrical light began to pour in through the gaps the mechanism was creating, lighting up the Runner Droid's small world. There was a part of 01113, a small and secretive part that it couldn't quite yet understand, that longed to know what the real sun must have felt like, up there on the surface of the world. What it would be like to experience it firsthand on its outer shell. Smiling to itself, it tilted its arm first to one side and then to the other, watching the dust catching in the filtered light, dancing and twirling as it fell. The warm glow cascaded over its chrome chassis, the skin-like shell designed to make it appear human, and 01113 imagined its false exterior reacting just as a living person's might. The tingle of heat, the hair rising, and freckles spreading over each pale inch, like stars appearing in the sky at dusk. A new objective appeared in the bottom left corner of the android's sightline, and it stepped out of its container obediently. Grabbing its pack from the usual spot at its feet, it made its way through the warehouse, each barefooted step quiet and precise, calculated by 100 automatic processors buzzing through its head. Rows and rows of white containers lined each side of the dimly lit warehouse, their inhabitants in a state of half-wakened suspension. The android listened to the familiar song of machinery as it passed by the repair line, glancing upwards as the large white cranes hoisted its brothers and sisters into the air, ripping apart their components as if they were nothing more than children's toys. Alert, error. An error message flashed up on the corner of the android 01113's HUD, and it quickly dismissed it, pushing down the unsettling sensation that accompanied it. Whatever this particular feeling was, it was not one that 01113 was meant to experience. The dark-haired runner droid directed its vision towards the floor and kept following the path it had been set on, focusing on the cold touch of the cement on its bare feet. The sensation was intriguing, sharp and vivid as it coiled within its processes, as if it were experiencing it all in the highest definition. 01113 much preferred this feeling to the one before. Cold was a measured scale, a constant, knowable variable, but fear was harsher, more complex. The android halted when it came to a square container lined inside with clothes. Each of the gold and blue uniforms inside were hanging in neat, ordered rows. 01113 raised its hand to the screen next to the opening, and it flashed blue for a moment as the machine inside compiled the required data. A slot in the container door sprang open, and 01113 reached inside to grab the uniform it had been assigned with both hands. It dressed without effort. As it pulled the zip from the center of its body to its throat, the metal collar on its neck began to glow. The word android appearing in solid blue letters. The illuminated digits perfectly matched the shade of its unnatural eyes. The runner droid tilted its head and frowned at its reflection in the steel container before turning towards the wide tunnel that was slowly opening to its left. It could already feel the cold air from the darkness within, rippling at its uniform like the tiny hands of a dozen children beckoning the android inside. It stepped in through the entranceway, glowing eyes peering through the endless shade and down into the ruins of old Dublin City. 01113 pulled its pack tighter onto its shoulders, securing the distribution of weight evenly. This was the part that it liked the most. 01113 offered the lost world a smile it shouldn't have been capable of. And then, the runner droid started to run. So what do you think of that, Tommy?
Yeah, I like that. Always interesting when it's got prologue written at the top, isn't it? Because there's so much debate about that in the writing world. People really take sides on that.
Yeah.
I think, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It's funny, isn't it? Because you could just call it chapter 1.
You could do, but I think sometimes prologues do sit outside of the story, don't they? They're an event, a catalyst event that kind of sits outside. And I think that probably I've not read the rest of the book, but I think it gives the impression that is what this is. This is a setup of the world and the spark, right. The very sort of spark. And it could be, you're right, it could be called chapter 1. But I did actually think, I think sometimes in prologues, people can get a little bit too world buildery and forget that they're just trying to show an inciting incident of some description. And this didn't. I thought it was really nice how she dealt with building the world around, and you got a real vibe, science fiction vibe of what was going on without there being like really, there was no lengthy descriptions of how society is set up or what everything looks like in minute detail or like really bad exposition about ever since the trade wars 300 years ago. Like it was done really nicely, wasn't it? Really neatly. And more importantly as well, as a kind of a part of what you're saying there, Tom, is a real sense of the character. Yeah. Because there's something not quite right about this robot, clearly. Yeah. And I loved that. You know, she's... It did a really good job of taking you into his head. Yeah, that's right. I thought. Or its head. I don't know what we're meant to call it. It's motherboard. Robots. Yeah. But yeah, I like that a lot. And I like that kind of build-up. And then the runner droid started to run. Yeah, I thought... Brilliantly intriguing. I thought those last couple of lines were absolutely perfect. So good. Really nicely done. And just that very brief mention of old Dublin City. Yeah. The ruins of old Dublin City. Yeah, see, that's enough though, isn't it? That's good world building. That gives you a slant, it gives you an insight, you can guess, you can add bits for yourself without being... Yeah, that's right. You visualise it yourself. You don't need all of the rubble and the, the carnage and the darkness and the rain or whatever. Another nice bit I wanted to point out as well that I liked was, so we're doing the whole robot thing, and there's a bit then when he starts thinking about what it would be like to be outside. Oh, that's and the language suddenly just kind of switches into a human poetic things, and it's like you can see his mind swinging between it's not I love that bit. Good. The tingle of heat, the hair rising and freckles spreading over each pale inch like stars appearing in the sky at dusk. That's nice. Yeah. Gold star for that line, I think. Yeah. Beautiful work. Really intrigued. So thank you, Janeen, for sharing that with us. Yes, thank you, Janeen. And that is actually available on Amazon, called .exe, and it is by Janeen Lease Taylor. So get that checked out as well. Well, thank you very much for listening. Congratulations if you put up with both episodes in one go. If you listen to them in some kind of failing writers marathon. Long car highly journey. Commendable. So, Tom, just before we go,
Can I just check?
Yes.
Is there anything important happening next week, or just not a lot going on?
Oh, like next week's episode? I mean, not really. Apart from the launch of our annual Flash Fiction competition where you could win £500.
Right. So quite a big deal then.
You've got to listen next week.
Yeah.
Got to listen next week.
Actual next week as well. Not next episode. Next.
No, next
flipping
week. Next week.
Yeah.
Find out the theme, find out the phrase you need to include, and we have a chat with our star judge, Sarah Lewis from Writers HQ, so you can find out what kind of things she might like.
Yeah, she gives away a few little gems as well, doesn't she?
Definitely listen for that. Yeah.
No stories about golf.
Don't do golf.
No.
So join us next week for the launch of the competition. It's always fun, great time of year.
Yeah.
And we love
to
reading
it.
Love reading them.
Right. I think we're done.
Yep. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Scrivener, for sponsoring us. And thanks to me and John, particularly, for being here and saying things.
Without that, there probably wouldn't be a podcast.
That's what makes the podcast special. I think it does really bring a lot to the podcast. So thanks to us more than anyone else.
Definitely.
See ya.
Take care. Bye. Last minute check. Yes, I'm recording. Good.
I've got my phone recording on some strange little thing that is offering me Temu things right now.
Oh, cool. What are you going to get? I mean, you don't have to do the
A
shopping.
paddling pool and
The garlic crusher.
shoes that look like a fish right now. Which like,
I've always wanted
Interesting.
some shoes that look like fish. They're remarkably difficult to come about, though, aren't they?
yeah, I
found?
wouldn't even know how to Google for that.
No, because you put sole in, I guess. That would probably cover it, wouldn't it? Because that's a fish and a part of a shoe. Oh, brilliant. Great start.
brilliant.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. You intrigued us.
Hello?
Hello?
Where's everybody gone?